Everyone, we got some major updates in regards to the Kyrie Irving to the Los Angeles Lakers rumors and reports that are going around. It was put out that Kyrie Irving, Russell Westbrook swap is in the works and is being discussed, and they are currently engaged. And the idea is centered around Kyrie Irving and Russell Westbrook swapping teams, but also a couple pieces added in. And right now, the Los Angeles Lakers are currently at a standstill with the Brooklyn Nets on the other components. Now, the Los Angeles Lakers, they want Seth Curry in this trade, where the Brooklyn Nets, they want to move off of Joe Harris and have the Lakers take on Joe Harris. Now, this deal, I'm pretty confident, is about done. I think by Monday latest, this deal will be announced. I just think that they have the base of what they're going to trade. Now it's just who's going to blink first, which team is going to break, because both teams kind of want the same thing. The reason the Lakers want Seth Curry, obviously, is because he's a lights-out shooter and the Lakers desperately need that, but it's more for the cap flexibility, right? Next season, the Lakers will have $80 to $100 million in cap space, maybe even more depending on how much the cap goes up. And so they want that financial flexibility. They got to re-sign, Kyrie Irving. They're going to have to re-sign LeBron James, and plus build a roster around those three once again after this season is done. Pretty much all their contracts all expire after this season. Even the new contracts they signed on were all basically one-year deals. So any trade, they want to preserve as much cap as possible. Problem is the Brooklyn Nets want the exact same thing. The reason they finally caved on Russell Westbrook, because reports were originally that they did not want Westbrook in a 3-team deal would have to be in the works. The reason that changed was because Kevin Durant decided, I want to be traded. So the idea is, okay, we trade Kevin Durant, we get some quality assets, we need to compete because the Brooklyn Nets, they can't afford to be a bottom-feeding team. They don't have any draft picks till 2027. So the Brooklyn Nets need to put together the best team possible. And that's likely going to come from the Kevin Durant trade. You're going to get some quality pieces. You get Westbrook. Westbrook gives you so much flexibility if you're the Brooklyn Nets now, because he's an expiring contract. So now you have that cap flexibility moving forward. You can kind of run Westbrook for a year, see how it works out. At least Westbrook is a guy that you can count on to be on the floor night in and night out. He's a guy that can, help your team at least get into the play-in, something like that. Again, you just want to stay relevant because you can't tank. You need to do whatever you can to win as many games as possible because everyone else has your draft picks but you. And the whole reason that they want to move off of Joe Harris is because he still has 2 years on his contract. Seth is an expiring contract. So if they move off of Joe Harris and give Joe Harris to the Lakers, then that eats into the Lakers cap space instead of the Brooklyn Nets, and they have more flexibility going forward. And whatever pieces they get, let's say it's Mikal Bridges, Ayton, and Cam Johnson. I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, let's say that's the deal. You got these 3 young guys that you have for your future, along with Ben Simmons. Wouldn't it be nice to have cap flexibility to go get some other pieces that could fit around these guys, whether it's another star, whether it's whatever, another young guy that maybe throw a restricted free agent that you throw a bunch of money at, something, whatever the case may be. That's the goal. But the Lakers want the same thing, so that's where the standstill is. Now, I don't think Joe Harris and Seth Curry are going to be the reason this deal doesn't happen. Like I said, both sides are playing hardball. Both sides kind of just want to see who blinks first. Kyrie Irving and Russell Westbrook are going to swap teams. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when now at this point. And so I just think both sides are trying to flex their muscles a little bit. They're both trying to do the negotiations and have those conversations. I think likely what happens is either the Nets cave and they take and they give up, Seth Curry, or the Lakers add some protection or something like that to the draft picks, because the reported trade is something along the lines of Westbrook, a first rounder, and then a pick swap for Kyrie Irving and Joe Harris, or Kyrie Irving and Seth Curry. It's just which added piece from the Nets is what's holding this up. I imagine the Lakers, instead of it being an unprotected pick, will make it top 10 protected or something like that. That'll likely be the goal, or it'll be top 5 protected. So if it's a lottery pick, and the Nets will likely take it. I don't see any way that this trade doesn't happen, because the Brooklyn Nets just want to be done. And it's better to get it done sooner rather than later. You trade Kyrie, That headache is gone, and now you can focus on Kevin Durant, which is the real trade that's really going to get you some assets. That is the goal. That's what you want. You just want to move off of Kyrie and get that out of the way as much as possible, so then you can focus and really hone in on like what is the best package available for Kevin Durant. That's how this is going to play out. But we have some other interesting news that was added on about an hour or two later after the reports came out of Kyrie, which I think is very interesting. And that reports are that according to Sham, that the Sixers and the Dallas Mavericks are teams that are keeping an eye out and may be suitors for Kyrie Irving. Now, this is something that was also reported several weeks ago, and both teams, the Dallas Mavericks and the Sixers, both have said that they want nothing to do with Kyrie Irving. All this is very likely is a ploy by the Brooklyn Nets to try to put some pressure on the Los Angeles Lakers. And why would they do that? It's just a little funny that the report comes out that they are in the middle of engaging in discussion for a trade. And then it comes out that they are having issues on not the swap, not the Westbrook and Kyrie, but the Joe Harris and Seth Curry. So if you're Brooklyn, what do you want to do? You want to say that there are other suitors out there to try to put some pressure on the Lakers. Lakers aren't stupid. Everybody knows that Dallas Mavericks and the Sixers have both said that they want nothing to do with it. But let's explore it. Let's talk about it a little bit, right? So when it comes to the 76ers, let's start with Kyrie Irving on Philadelphia. No way this happens. And here's why. First off, James Harden still hasn't signed his contract, right? So he's still technically a free agent. Sixers are working out with that. Supposedly James Harden met with the Sixers today. The whole reason James Harden forced his way out of Brooklyn was because of Kyrie Irving. I mean, it was public. He said it. It came out of his mouth that he had issues with what was going on. I mean, he didn't say Kyrie Irving, is a terrible person and I want to get rid of him. But he said, I want people that I can rely on that actually show up to work and all of that stuff. Said all that stuff, even at his press conference and stuff, was talking about how bad it was over there. And he wanted to leave for Kyrie Irving. There is absolutely no way, shape, or form that Daryl Morey is going to trade for Kyrie Irving and lose James Harden. It just is not going to happen because there's no way James Harden is going to stay there if that. And if you have to choose between Kyrie and James Harden, you're taking James Harden, especially Daryl Morey. Not just that, but even, let's expand this even further. What are you trading if you're Philadelphia? The whole thing that the Brooklyn Nets want is cap relief. The Philadelphia 76ers don't have anything that could match Kyrie's salary that would give them cap relief and cap flexibility. What are you trading for him? Tobias Harris? They don't want Tobias Harris. Are you going to trade Maxey for Kyrie? There's no way. You could get a way better return for Maxey than Kyrie Irving. So it just, the idea of Kyrie going to Philadelphia is just, it's not going to happen. I never want to say never when it comes to the NBA because we've seen some crazy things happen. But I mean, this is about as close to it's never going to happen as it gets. Unless James Harden just says, I don't want to stay here, I'm going elsewhere, and he leaves, then maybe this is kind of a ploy to try to get James Harden to sign. Like, hey, if you don't sign, we're just going to go trade for Kyrie. Like, maybe that's kind of what they're looking at, but even then, I don't think that happens. I don't think there's a way that Daryl Morey even thinks about trying to go for Kyrie Irving. But when it comes to the Dallas Mavericks, let's dive into the Dallas Mavericks and why this will never happen. When it comes to the Dallas Mavericks, to start off, one of the execs or higher-ups or whatever for the Dallas Mavericks said a couple weeks ago that this will never happen, that nobody in the Dallas organization is interested in Kyrie Irving. Jason Kidd doesn't want him and doesn't want to deal with the headache. Neither does Mark Cuban. So there's just no way that they would trade for Kyrie Irving. But let's say for whatever reason things change, right? Again, what are they going to trade for Kyrie Irving? Because the Brooklyn Nets don't want salary. And the only way that Dallas can trade for Kyrie Irving is to give them players that have salary. They do have a couple expiring players, but for the most part, most of them are locked up to multi-year deals, which Dallas doesn't want, or the Nets do not want. And so Dallas doesn't have a way to trade for them the way that they want to. They value Westbrook because of the expiring contract. They want to trade Joe Harris because they want to move off of his contract and keep the expiring contract in Seth Curry. Now, is there a way that maybe the Lakers work out both? Possibly, and we could touch on that in a moment. But beyond that, beyond like the trade and the organization not wanting Kyrie, Luka and Kyrie, you think that that's going to work? Now, I know that there's rumbles and there's talks and reports even that the Dallas Mavericks, really wanted to keep Brunson and that they were really disappointed that Brunson went to the Knicks. I don't believe that for a second, because if the Dallas Mavericks really wanted Brunson, they would have aggressively went after him to get him to sign. They didn't. They let him do whatever he wanted with New York and then said that they were going to have a meeting with him. And I don't believe that meeting ever even happened. He went and signed with the Knicks. Dallas didn't want Brunson. They didn't want to get locked in to a 6'1" point guard that plays no defense, that had a great 15-game stretch. He was a guy that was making $10 million a year before that. And so some people's thinking is like, oh, well, they lost Brunson, so they can go and get Kyrie Irving. Why? That makes again, you have Luka. You don't need a guy in Kyrie who needs the ball in his hands, or yes, he can play off the ball, but Luka is so ball dominant. He was number one in time of possession and, ISOs and stuff in the entire league. He is as ball dominant as it gets in the NBA. And they don't need a guy like Kyrie. Not just that, could you imagine the nightmare Luka and Kyrie would be together? And I'm not talking about on the basketball court. I'm sure that maybe they would be really great. I mean, Kyrie and LeBron were great together. Although LeBron is more, of a willing passer, things like that, than Luka. Luka likes to do his little, two-step, step back, all those things, right? But that's neither here nor there. And I don't even mean on the court. Maybe it would be a beautiful fit. But off the court, that would be an absolute nightmare. I mean, Luka, there's already concerns with Luka and his sort of mentality and the locker room and stuff like that. And, how he complains to the refs and things and all of that stuff, right? Now, imagine what would happen with Kyrie Irving. I just think it would be an absolute disaster, a blow-up waiting to happen. I just don't see it ever happening. I think realistically what we will see is the swap. And it will very likely be who blinks first. Is it the Lakers blink and say, okay, we'll take Joe Harris? Or is it the Nets that blink and say, okay, we just want to get rid of Kyrie. Go ahead, we'll give you Seth Curry. Or, like I said, maybe the Lakers work something out to go get a player like both. Maybe they give up Win Gabriel and then they just take on Seth Curry and Joe Harris along and then give up Westbrook and stuff like that. Because you don't need to make the salaries exactly match. It just needs to be, I believe it's 10% or something like that, 15% difference. So the Lakers could take on, with just Westbrook, something like $57 million in salary. So you're talking about $8.5 million with Seth Curry. You're talking 36, let's just call it $37 million with Kyrie Irving. So you're looking at basically $43 million between those two there. You could easily add on Joe Harris and then get all three. And so you just got to throw in the Win Gabriel so that way you have the roster spots. And so that way, the salaries are close enough to match, which I think winning would actually be a little more, but you're good. My point is the trade would work. So maybe you do something like that. And then it's a win-win, right? Lakers get Joe Harris and Seth Curry, right? So now they get two shooters and two guys that can, do multiple things on the court, especially Joe Harris. Joe Harris was really solid before his injury, and there's a lot of concerns and questions with that. So my point is, I think eventually they're going to figure this out, and it's going to be sooner rather than later. I don't think the Brooklyn Nets want to waste time. I don't think the Lakers really want to waste time. The Lakers have all the time, right? I mean, they could keep Westbrook, they could run him, they could do whatever. The Brooklyn Nets, they don't have time. Right? They need to get rid of Kevin Durant and they need to get rid of Kyrie. And last thing you want to do is start your season with Kyrie just not playing and not showing up, and it's a headache and you're paying him all this money to sit and he's just causing all this extra drama. The Brooklyn Nets need to get rid of Kyrie more than the Lakers need to get rid of Westbrook. So I don't think that should be an issue. I think eventually Brooklyn's going to cave. A couple weeks ago, there was no way that the Brooklyn Nets were going to take Russell Westbrook, that it was never going to happen, that they don't want anything to do with Russell Westbrook and this, that, and the other, and all these reports. And look, here we are. We're at a conversation where they're talking about, hey, we'll take Russell Westbrook because it's the best option at this point. Yeah, okay. So I think this gets done. But as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you think this gets done within the next day or two? Do you think it draws out for a little bit? Technically, they could keep it going till September or the end of September. I mean, they can keep it going as long as they want. But free agency, or the off season basically ends in September. So they could technically drag this out till September. I just don't think that happens. I think within the next like couple days, this is done. I think by like the end of the day, Monday, the latest this is done. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, about a week or so from now. But I think realistically, I wouldn't be surprised if we wake up in a couple hours and this happened and this is announced. I wouldn't be shocked. But again, would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on everything we talked about in this. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.